Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the London Webfest Q&A sessions. This is our first one for 2022. For those of you that don't know, I am Saul Marin. I'm the festival director here at London Webfest. Now, as always, with our Q&As, we'll be talking to some of the best talent on the festival circuit right now. This time round, we've invited our actor-directors from our Q1 official selections. Now, these are filmmakers that are working both sides of the camera and doing it exceptionally well. Don't forget, we want to hear from you as well. You can pose your questions to our panel just by adding them to the chat. Now, speaking of actor-directors, today's roundtable will be moderated by our guest judge, Chris Tashima. Now, Chris is not only an award-winning actor in his own right, but also a multi-award-winning director, including his Academy Award for his work on Visas and Virtues. So you know you're in good hands. In fact, rather than just chat about him, I'm going to invite him in. There we go. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Hello, Saul. Hello, world.
Yeah, thank you so much for being part of the festival. And it's amazing. We've chatted a lot online back and forth with emails, but it's been good to actually catch up and chat with you. Now, we were talking before about, going through the process of how do you choose a film or a series? What is it that you weigh up when you're deciding? How did you find it? How did you find the first of all, the submissions and also on getting your head around what makes a great film or series?
Yeah, fortunately, it was really tough. And, sometimes it's easy and it's like, oh, this is trash, this is trash, this is trash. Because, as you know, festivals get entries on all levels of accomplishments. But these were really great works, and it was actually hard to choose a winner. Sometimes it's just, you hate that it has to be a competition, but you got to pick something. So I usually comes down to something actually sort of subjective, and just how much do I enjoy this film. And I think anyone who goes to the movies can sort of judge that, knows what that's like. Here's your favorite films, and those are those that are pretty good, but it's not my favorite. So with the shorts and webisodes, it's a little bit easier, but I had a great time looking at all the entries. There's some of them I watched more than once. They were all terrific, and I have to say I watched them all the way through, because not always, when you're judging shorts, do you watch it all the way? Even short films, you watch it all the way through. I just say that with having lots of experience serving on juries and committees with the Academy and with the Directors Guild. So I've had a lot of experience watching short films, and this is really a good festival.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is why I take your word when it comes to, because it can be difficult, trying to within a short time frame bring across a story, trying to emote and have it engaging and entertaining. And I was just saying to our panelists before, genuinely our Q1 season has been just a flurry of incredible talent. And this is what brings us to today, to kind of coincide with yourself being an actor and director working both sides of the camera. We've invited a panel of guests who are not only creating fantastic work as directors, but also managing to run round to the other side and balance both worlds. To be honest, I think that is more than enough from me. I'm interested to hear what all of you have to say and let you get on with the chat. Now, as always, we like to show just a clip of our panelists' work so that everyone at home can get to know them a little bit better. Chris, I will see you in roughly about an hour. I will be here in the background listening intently. Thanks so much for being here.
Greetings to my community. Once upon a time, I was told the story of a small samurai who traveled to a far-off island to defeat demons and ogres. I came to America with that same dream. Little Tokyo became my new home.
Yeah. Are you light on your feet?
What?
Are you light on your feet? Because the last crowd, they were like a herd of Jesus moose up there.
I guess I'm light on my feet.
You're a big young fella But sometimes the bigger they are, the lighter they minces around on their feet.
What?
I knew. I just was waiting for him to find out, And so, in the meantime, I just made sure that wherever he was, I was, So, well, now that I say it like that, it does make it sound like I followed him around.
So he was right.
Whatever.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word.
You going to be cool?
Welcome, filmmakers, actors, directors.
Thank you. Hello,
Thank you.
everybody.
Hello.
It's great to have you all on. All of your work was really fantastic. And, I have a special appreciation as an actor director myself and knowing what all is involved with that, but also how much fun it can be. And I want to congratulate you on all of your entries, all of your series and your short films. Why don't we let's get it right into it, and let's start off with, I want to have each of you just introduce yourself and your series or your film, and talk just a little bit about the film that you made. Let's start with Anthony.
Oh, hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, Chris, I just want to say, how often does someone from Washington, D.C., from the south side of Southeast, from a bad neighborhood, get a chance to be moderated by a Academy Award winning director? So this is mind blowing to me, first of all. So I'm just honored to be here with you guys. My name is Anthony Anderson. I created digital series, web series by the name of Anacostia out of the United States. We've been currently in our 6th season, been going on since 2009. So been enjoying the ride. I'm the writer, producer, creator, actor. And it basically deals with a group of friends in a community, a real life community called Anacostia in DC, and their trials and tribulations as friends as they struggle through different things, and how they can manage to be resilient in their friendships, even though these life issues are thrown at them.
Great. That's great. Autobiographical?
Some parts of it.
Sure. Let me go around and what's on my screen. How about Zach?
Hi, yep, I'm Zaki Solosho, and it's an absolute honor to be here. Thank you for the invite. Yep, my film is My Lockdown Stash. It was shot during the first lockdown in the UK, and it's about a guy who goes a little bit crazy at the beginning of lockdown. Before you ask, there's aspects of it that are autobiographical. But yeah, we were very lucky in terms of being able to put the film together at that time, and then on top of that, being able to have Dave Courtney, who is an infamous gangster turned author, who was more than happy to narrate the film. And it's actually his bedroom I'm currently sitting in, if you're wondering.
Oh, wow.
I was wondering.
So yeah, as you can imagine,
an amazing background. Okay, thanks, Zach. Then we go to the next line. Mary.
Oh, hi. I'm really happy to be here. Ours is autobiographical in a way. The guy in the show, Dave Sullivan, he had gotten rise in pay and a move to we live in Newfoundland on an island, and he'd been moved to the mainland, to Moncton in a bigger job, and everything was all set to go, and he sold his house and sold up all his goods. His girlfriend broke up with him. Everything was over. He was ready to go. Then the pandemic hit, and so he was in a bit of a state, and he just rented a house sight unseen. He'd always wanted to have a house right on the ocean. And so he got this house sight unseen. He moved in, and it was like nothing, it could not be better. And when he got up in the morning and he went out on his deck looking at this exquisite view, a voice said, "You're up early." And there was a woman living in the basement. He said, "Do you live next door?" She said, "No, I lived in the basement. I've been here 8 years." And and he was looking for peace and serenity and all those things. And she was looking for someone to talk to because she'd been stuck there. And so that's their weird relationship in the Mrs. Downstairs. And Dave had written up stuff on Facebook, and your stuff on Facebook. I was born to play the Mrs. Downstairs, and you were born to be you. And we put it all together, and we had a great time doing it. And you know, that sometimes you think, oh, this is not going to be any good because we're having too much fun, but that doesn't always work. We really enjoyed it, and then people really liked it too. So it was great.
Great, thank you. Okay, Sally.
Hello from Melbourne, Australia, where it is now. Well, yeah, it's about 6:15 in the morning. So, but hey, you know, that's the price for living down under, and trying to work internationally. So I'm the creator and the director, and also an ensemble member for the web series Shakespeare Republic. And so our third season is what's here in Q1, which is #AllTheWebsAstage, the Lockdown Chronicles. So I directed 24 of my fellow actors through the lockdowns of 2020, here in Melbourne, in Los Angeles, London, Glasgow, Edinburgh, and New York. And we did it all through Zoom. So they filmed themselves on cameras and smartphones in their apartments or wherever they happened to be in lockdown, and I directed them through Zoom calls. So that was how we put the series together, and it happened over the space of about 5 months. And yeah, it was enormous fun. It was also incredibly stressful, and I don't know that I want to try and do that again. Although having said that, we've just launched the teaser for another series that's again Shakespeare related, that I shot in lockdowns in 2021. So again, the same way. So I do not intend to corner this market, but yeah, I've now done it twice, which I don't think I want to do again. But yeah, but it's a joy to be here. I'm so delighted to be here with you guys. This is awesome. I'm so happy. The one thing the pandemic has done is open the doors like this, no matter where we're based in the world. So yeah, really delighted to be here.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear for how many of you the pandemic really kind of inspired your work to move forward. People would think that would just shut us down, but you know, we're just driven to do what we do and find a way to do it. By the way, you know, I really want to encourage this as a roundtable. I don't want to just be here asking you a question, then you a question, and answer. So any of you want to just make it a conversation, you know, join in anytime you want. And, you know, I think that'll really bring us to more interesting topics or ideas and for us to talk about. So as actor and directors, I might assume that you were always going to be in your own project, but maybe that's not true. And I don't know that whether you were always going to be the director of your project. So let me just phrase it as, when did you know you were going to direct your project? You know, that can entail all kinds of things coming in and out of this thing getting off the ground. But and were you planning to act all along or not? Let's go back. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, Newfoundland is quite isolated, and so you know, I went to uni on the mainland in Toronto, and we all came back in order to build a community. Like, we were going to make Newfoundland the center of theater in North America. We didn't quite achieve that, but that was our plan. So we did everything because there was no structure, so you had to do everything. So you had to write it and produce it and do it. And so that's the way it's always been for me. Anyway, I've always written my own stuff, and I've had a couple of national TV series that, that with others I wrote, and then I did this terrible film in 2006 that I wrote and directed, and didn't really, and it was like a big film, with a big cast and big crew, and Andrea Martin was in it. I don't know if you know Andrea Martin. She's from SCTV, and some big French actors and stuff, and way beyond my ability to do it, actually. And it was disastrous. It was just disastrous. It was the Globe and Mail is the Canadian national newspaper. It is the only film, as far as I know, that the Globe reviewers gave no stars to. Every piece of shit coming out of everywhere else got at least a half a star, but we got no star.
So where can we see this?
Look it up online. It's called Triffy. But it was so terrible. I was afraid to even try to direct again. So really the pandemic helped me, like you said. I mean, it helped me to be brave enough to go, no, I really do want to direct, because I'm, having done everything from the beginning, you sort of go, and when you're just an actor on set, you find people aren't really interested in your point of view about what the other actors are wearing as costumes, or how the set's looking, or whatever, right? Like people always look at you quite strangely when you're giving your point of view. So it really, and if you have a point of view on a lot of things, it really helps to be the director. Plus, it's just a lot of fun, I think, bossing people around.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah. I have to. I actually trained as an actor as well, and that was always just the intention: be an actor. And then I went to a drama school. I actually went to drama school in London, so I do have a UK connection. And they had a whole unit about creating your own work, and basically said, don't wait for the phone to ring, because they won't care that you graduated. So learn how to do your own thing. So they said, if you don't, want to direct, find a director. If you don't know that you can write, you probably can, give it a go. But if you can't, then find someone who can write and form your own companies. I came out of drama school and wrote and produced my first film straight out of drama school the following year, but I never really intended to direct. I had a couple of attempts at short films when I got back to Australia, and one, Mary, I feel you, but it wasn't as big as your film by the sounds of it. But still, I had a cast and crew of 70 and all the moving parts and, all these things like, lots of equipment, and the film was terrible. But luckily it was only a short film, so it was overkill on the short film. And I said, that's it, I'm never directing again, we're done. And then along came, Shakespeare Republic. And I started doing this series in 2015. And again, I wasn't intending to direct, but nobody was prepared to take on Shakespeare. So because I am a bit of a Shakespeare nut, and my backstory is I never used to be until I went to drama school. I'm dyslexic, so you can imagine how good my introduction to Shakespeare was in high school. Not good is the short story, but I had a brilliant Shakespeare teacher in drama school. And I don't know, just became a convert. So anyway, I ended up directing under protest with Shakespeare Republic, and then just kind of found out that I kind of liked it. And we're 3 seasons in now, and I haven't given up the reins. So clearly the control freak has won. And yes, I want to be able to say, no, we don't have that bit of set there. Move that prop. Change that costume. But also just working with the actors. And I think from my perspective, I mean, I've just come off a large acting gig for a streaming service here in Australia, where I was just an actor. And that's right, Mary, it was so hard on set. So I'm like, I don't know if that costume's working. Shush, not my problem. I'm not directing this one. Just be quiet. Just go sit in your trailer. It'll be fine. But it is actually, I think my directing has really helped me as an actor as well. Working with these actors that are amazing on my shows. I learn so much from them. But also, again, you watch an actor do something and you go, oh, I do that. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
So I think it also helps me as an actor hopefully improve each time I step behind the lens as well. So I'm kind of grateful that I fell back into it, and that, and it's fun. I actually have been really enjoying it. But again, as they say, half of it's the casting. So I get very, very good actors that I get to play with, which really helps.
Maybe
Yeah.
more than half.
It is more than half,
Maybe.
like 99%, but you know.
Yeah, like I think for me, I was not supposed to have been either. I was strictly supposed to have been the writer, creator, writer. And there was another young gentleman in 2009 in my role that I'm currently playing. And the role is a member of the LGBTQ community. And he accepted the role. And then when we were doing rehearsals, he said, so I actually have to kiss the other dude. And I said, well, yeah, they're in a relationship. And he was like, I don't think I can do that. Can I do the role without kissing him? I was like, well, that's kind of cheating the role. So we can't really do that. And so he said, well, I don't think I can do the role. And he left the role. And we were a week before filming. And that was a crisis. And then the director didn't really, he was used to doing movies. So he was like, what is a web series? I don't really know what a web series is. And how long could you plan on filming? Like 5 weekends? I don't think I can do it. So we lost that character and the director. And the casting director, Cynthia James, said, you know what? We don't have time. Why don't you do both? And I said, okay, I'll do the role and I'll direct, but at the end of the first season, I'll kill my character off. So then that alleviates one thing. And then I'll just find a director of season 2. It just so happened that the character became such a well-liked character by the viewers that by the time we got to the end of the first season and it looked like he may have done something to himself, everyone that was watching was up in arms. It was like, you cannot kill this character off. You cannot kill this character off. So by season 2, I was revived and stuck into the character ever since. And I've been in the role of both since 2009.
So had you done acting before? While you were originally the writer, but had you acted before?
Well, honestly, Chris, I started out, I had the dream. Oh, okay, this was the dream. The dream was I was going to be a music video dancer. Okay. That was my original dream. I wanted to be in all the rap videos. So I wanted to be a dancer. And the first chance I got, God rest his soul, was a DMX came to Washington, D.C. and filmed his video for Get It on the Floor. And I love the song. And I had an agent and she was like, yeah, I want to send you down there and you go dance in DMX's video. I was like, you don't have to tell me twice. I went down there, met him. He was everything that you see in the videos. And had on the wrong shoes, slipped, fell, hit my knee, busted my knee. I'm sitting there bleeding. And I would not leave the set. And they propped me up next to a video girl. And they said, when the camera comes past, just raise your glass. So I think in the 2-minute, 22-second mark of that video, you see me like this, and I'm actually in pain. And my agent said, you know, we're not going to send you on any more dancing auditions. We're going to send you out on some acting stuff just to test it. And she sent me out on some independent stuff. And the first couple of things I got, and she just kept sending me out on stuff. I was like, well, I really don't want to act. I want to dance. She was like, no, dancing is not your thing, baby. Stick with the acting. So I did the acting, and then I started writing, and then created my first independent film. And from that said, hey, I like the behind the scenes more than the in front of the cameras. And so when Anacostia came around, I just sort of happened to fall into it and been loving it ever since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, all of you, it's so interesting how it sort of found you. You were brought into it, and it, you know, wasn't at all your initial dream to be a director or even an actor. And you know, you find that what you were meant to do. Anthony, you're just a marvelous actor. It's so interesting to hear that you just kind of fell into it.
Chris, I'm an easy crier, so when someone like you say that, it makes me emotional. So, so thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, that's a part of acting, is accessing those emotions, and if you're an emotional person, you've got a huge palette to paint with.
Thank you. I'm flattered by that. Thank you.
I guess I'll jump in at this point. So for me, acting was very much my first passion. I grew up wanting to be an actor. I was willing to go to drama school and do the whole, going to RADA or LEPA or something cool like that. I started off after high school, or secondary school in the UK. End up doing either a BTEC or A-levels. I chose a BTEC, which is like, you know what you want to do, and I did drama. So then after 1 year of doing the BTEC in drama, there was a kind of a crossroads for me. I was also in a band, and we were scheduled to play Glastonbury Festival. This was back in 2005 when I was 16 years old. And I kind of had a choice between doing these big rehearsals that we had to do on this weekend, which falls in the same weekend as Glastonbury, or I can go to Glastonbury. They gave me the ultimatum when I said I'd like to miss the rehearsals for our final major project, which was Comedy of Errors, a 60s rendition of Comedy of Errors. And it didn't take me much time at all to choose Glastonbury. So the following September, I was like, right, okay, I'm kind of stuck here. What do I do? I've done the acting thing. Let's go behind the camera, because by then I'd seen Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction was directed by Tarantino and also had Tarantino in it. And I thought, well, he's calling the shots. He can put whoever the fuck he wants into. Sorry, can I swear? Sorry about that. He can put whoever he likes into a film, and he put himself. So I thought, you know what? There's the control. There's the autonomy. Maybe there's a bit of ego there and a bit of self-indulgence. But I thought, why not? Let's go behind the camera, and then at some point, I will put myself in front of my own camera. It took me a lot longer than I thought, but I really wanted to make sure that my first film lands as well as I wanted it to. So I spent most of my 20s, I cut my teeth in shooting weddings, and then I've gone doing corporate branded content. So I've always been behind the camera, and at points I've done voiceovers and things like that. And then eventually I thought, you know what? Here's a lockdown. The playing, it's kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, while the rest of Hollywood and what have you is kind of not working. Maybe here's the time to play some catch up. So that's when I decided to produce the film during the first lockdown itself.
Nice.
Great stories. So for all of you, we're all actually very seasoned. It's not like this is our first student film or anything, but I think you never stop learning things in the director's chair.
I can't hear anyone.
You're having trouble hearing us? So let me just say, what kinds of things do you struggle with as a director? And that doesn't have to be like, what are your horror stories? But
sorry, I can't hear anyone.
Struggles can be, they can be, it's something you overcome with sometimes a lot of joy, or makes it worth what you're doing. Can you talk about what, or does it just come easy for you?
The whole technical thing is very difficult for me. I'm good at working with actors because I've directed in the theater quite a lot too, right? But when people start talking about lenses and stuff, and I mean to study up on that, you know what I mean? I have about 1,000 books and about that, but it all starts to seem like gobbledygook, and I'm really go into a kind of white noise, kind of white, everything goes. It's probably some learning disability I have, so I really have to depend on my DOP. And that other film I made, I didn't know how, I think that often I go in underprepared, and then therefore I am very, very nervous and fearful. And then I start to build a wall to protect myself because I think everybody knows I'm underprepared and blah, blah, blah. So I'm learning That was taking me a long time, but I'm learning to know how to work and how not to really stop being underprepared, which for a while I thought was kind of magical because you could do that kind of thinking on your feet and things would happen that wouldn't, but really it's just so nerve-wracking. And then I became not as nice a person as perhaps, you'd want to be, but I didn't know how to deal with a DOP. You know what I mean? I really didn't know how, and I just felt overwhelmed. But now I know that I've learned to be a team. I've learned to be a team. Like I had a mentor on this last film and he said, just do your own job. Don't try to do everybody's job. Don't try to do the designer's job. Just do your own job. When people need you, they'll come to you. They'll ask you the question. And so I found that for me, I guess this is not really the question you're asking, but my honest answer is that my own fear of not being prepared enough, of not being able to do it, often got in my way. And as I get a little bit older, I guess I get a lot older, actually, I get a lot more all right. I'm not as building walls to protect myself and stuff. I'm more open and I can work better. I find that, that's has been my general struggle sort of in life, really, Chris, if you want to know. I could give you some stories.
That's really, it's actually a very personal question, and I think you answered it very, very honestly. It's not going to always just be easy for everyone.
No, I think I think my biggest learning lesson was letting go and asking for help, because like I for some reason feel like I can do it, and realizing what my strengths are versus my weaknesses. And I don't know how to point a camera. I can look in the lens and I can look in the monitor and say, okay, I like that. But just relying on my DP and trusting his vision and having a group collaborative effort with all of the crew, with the sound, like what it'd be like I'm thinking more visually, and that's their job: sound, cinematography, editing, like just relying on their expertise to make my vision turn out to be the best vision that it could possibly be. And it took me a minute to say, it's okay to ask for help from those people. That's what they're there for, because we're all part of a team and they all want to make your product look great. And so it took me a minute to like take my hands off of it and say, okay, well, what do you guys think? Do you guys have opinions? And just welcome and just opening a door for them to have a collaborative discussion about what will look best for the show.
So important. Allowing your teammates to collaborate without letting people know that you don't know what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, I've kind of had an odd career. I've always had one foot behind the camera and one foot in front. And it's because I always believed as an actor, and it started from my work in theatre. I would be on stage, and then if I decided to rest for a show with companies I worked with, I'd go work in the lighting booth or backstage, because I think it makes you a better actor to understand you're just a cog in the machine. And so I kind of applied that to my screen work. So when I landed in London initially, I was basically there to have a bit of a holiday. And then I got a job offer to work for the BBC in production. And I said, okay, yeah, let's do that. I want to understand how television works. So I worked for BBC for nearly 3 years before I went to drama school. And I got an incredible training there. But I also, before that, I'd done things like sound. I did for a blink. I did boom swinging for one shoot. And oh my God, have I got such respect for boom swings, for sound people generally. They don't get enough credit and enough kudos for what they do. They are amazing. I did makeup, assisting, shadowing a makeup artist to understand how that was done. I'm always intrigued by all those departments. But I'm also highly respectful and grateful for those people that are experts in those departments. So I have learnt I mean, I also edit, which is interesting. I do all the rough cuts for all of our work. I edited all of the last season myself because my editor that I normally work with was actually booked for other jobs because obviously pandemic, that's the one thing you can do that everyone's locked in their houses. So he was doing a lot of work for various things in his home studio. So I did it myself, but normally I'll cut to rough cut and then he'll come in and cut to fine cut and do the coloring. So I also, you know, I sit with him in the edit suite usually as well. And again, I learn so much from that process. But yeah, the DPs get mentioned a lot, but my big thing was finding the right team, I think. And then opening the door for them to collaborate, contribute, suggest, because they're experts in their area. I've dabbled and I know enough-ish about things, but yeah, there's no way I'd try and pick up a camera and legitimately try and shoot a series. No, I have my fabulous DP that I normally work with, Sean Herbertson, who I am probably going to lose because National Geographic are now using him and other places. So I am definitely going to lose him, which is really frightening because we've now got this wonderful, you know, kind of almost unspoken language now where I'll just say, I need this kind of vibe, and he'll just set the shot up and I'm like, perfect. That's it. That's exactly what was in my head. So now I'm panicking that I might need to find someone else, and that's such a rare thing. Same with my beautiful sound person, Tim McCormick. I mean, you know, Thanasi, who's my editor. Like, there's a whole gang that I work with that, you know, they all work at the top of their game as well over here in Australia, and I know that I'm not always going to have access to them. So, yeah, that's frightening as well. But then, you know, I guess it's open to forming those new relationships. The one challenge for me is change. It's really hard. I don't know that I could be a director for hire. That's the one thing I think I'd find really challenging, is just moving in to work with different crews that maybe you don't get a complete say in who you're going to work with. You can put forward suggestions, but it's going to come down to production, who you work with. I have enormous respect for people that can do that, who can step into a long-running series and work with an established crew, because I don't know if I could do that. I haven't yet tested that theory, and I don't know if I will. We'll see. But yeah, that my biggest challenge initially was I really heard you, Anthony, when you talked about I don't have to do everything. Right. I am allowed to ask for help. There's a lot of that goes on. And again, in the web series world, particularly because you don't often have a lot of cash. So the way, especially when you're starting, so the way you deal is you just go, I'll do it. It's right. Okay. You know, I won't put pressure on anyone else. I'll take all the stress. I'll be out at, you know, Kmart or Walmart or whatever at 4 a.m. buying, I don't know, the singlets we need for the crowd shot. It's just, it's, you know, it's strange things that you do when you don't have a big budget. It's learning that people, when you do get, you know, we've been lucky to get some funding in, but again, most of ours is crowdfunded. So they're not getting paid what they're worth. They're still not. But they're prepared to come on board. And that's the other thing about collaboration. You know, people need to feel ownership too. So it's allowing that in their respective departments. That's been the kind of, but it's been a good learning curve. And it's formed kind of this incredible tribe, I guess, around the work, which I'm incredibly grateful for too. But yeah, the challenge was just don't do everything. You don't need the stress and the burnout that occurs when that happens. Yeah, that's been.
Well,
that's been
I
tough.
love that. You know, it goes back to your theater and how you were doing all these things just because as an actor, which I totally agree with. You know, it helps you to know what everyone else is doing in the theater to help put on this show. But in, you know, and also listening to you, it's, you know, it's so important just to surround yourself with good people. And, you know, that helps your project. It helps you as a director. But, you know, when you find those good people, they do get pulled away to bigger projects. So it's always a struggle. Zach, are you with us?
I am, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to work out what the question is that you're answering that I missed.
Oh, I was asking about struggling as a director. You know, what do you struggle with, even though we're, you know, all accomplished filmmakers, and, you know, it's not like this is the first time we're doing this, but there's always things that we learn from, I think.
I think the biggest struggle for me was definitely actually just bringing myself, and I think this echoes a little bit of Mary's answer as well, from what I gather, that it's bringing yourself to the point where you can actually put put yourself in that vulnerable position of making a film, because it is extremely vulnerable. And that's the most difficult thing is, you know, if you're making a good living and you have a nice roof over your head and you're eating good food and you have good relationships, like, why would I step out of this comfort zone? Everyone else is just having a great time. Why would I just, you know, open myself up to a year's worth of anxiety as I wait for each and every notification from Film Freeway on whether or not the film has been selected? You kind of find yourself like, oh, okay, I'm in this position now, and you know, they send out emails every day just notifying you of different film festivals. I'm like, oh, is this the notification? Okay, you know, it's a lot to bear. But then it's you're opening yourself up for the lows, but you're also opening yourself up for the highs, and that's what I'm here for. Is seeing that people are moved by the work. Sitting in, I was at the London Independent Film Festival, and it was an honor to have the film screen there. And they, you know, and I'm not really watching the film. I've seen the film plenty of times. I'm watching the audience, or I'm listening out for the audience. Like, will they laugh at this point? Will they laugh at that point? Like, what's the reaction? You know, and that's as vulnerable as it gets, because if it's a room of silence, then you have to reflect. And a lot of people do shield themselves from that reflection. And I'm proud of us all for the fact that we've been able to not just be vulnerable in the films that we've made, but also on this panel. And you know, who knows what kind of questions you're about to ask us for the next 20 more minutes.
Yeah, you know, there's nothing like sharing your film with an audience. You know, for me, it's you do all this work for sometimes years and years, and the lights go down. But you know, things are changing, and you don't always get to show your film or your series in a theater, or you know how it gets distributed or exhibited, and so let me just shift gears now, as you know, content creators, and what are your thoughts on, let's say, you know, for short filmmakers, what is that world like? And where do you think it's going? Because, you know, technology is just changing things so rapidly.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's interesting. In Australia, we're lucky to have, well, those of us that get it, which I haven't yet, but I'm working on it, getting government funding. So there are screen agencies that will fund content. For many years, they focused on feature films and TV series, and they still fund those things. But interestingly, they shifted their attention to short format. So web series and short film are starting to get more traction.
Oh, that's great.
And I guess, yeah, it is good, actually. And I guess they see that it's, mind you, they've got a big focus on emerging filmmakers. And I'm like, hello, not necessarily, but that's okay.
Emerging
but
from
yeah.
what?
Emerging as in literally just graduated film school, I suspect.
Isn't that funny? We have a system also that may be like Australia, but we get funding, we get government funding. And I know this fabulous Quebec producer has always complained that there is always money to support your first film, but there's nothing there for the second and third.
Right.
You know what I mean? That it's yeah.
Yep. And it's a similar problem here. But what's interesting is that we've got some broadcasters here now. So ours is the ABC, which is the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, which is a public broadcaster. Because they now have, and many of our other channels here have the same thing, they now have their own streaming platforms as well. So they're digital channels, as they're calling them. They're actually making room now for short content. So I'm seeing more short films appearing there, and web series, definitely. They've got whole web series strands that they're running, particularly through the public broadcasters. We've got 2 of them, SBS being the other. But also there's all these other sort of indie kind of streaming platforms popping up. And then you've got, well, Netflix hasn't done so well recently, I see, as far as the share price goes with subscribers, but Netflix is still there. Netflix have dabbled in the short form content. Amazon Prime has done the same. It's and several other streamers, I believe Hulu as well. There's quite a few. So they're all dabbling with it. They're all trying to work out how to make money from it. And to be honest, I think that's the big question no one's quite worked out how to answer yet.
Right.
How do you make money from short form? they're trying to crack that. They're trying to work that out. But it's interesting to see that they are still prepared to keep playing in that space. And I think because everyone's on mobile phones or cell phones or whatever, or, you know, their tablet or whatever, watching content, there's a market for it. It's just we haven't quite worked out how to crack that market to make money out of it. But I think that's not far off. And I do think that short form is therefore becoming more and more important once again. It's not just about making your calling card film out of film school. It is actually, I know people who make a living doing web series now. So there's a way to do it. It's just, yeah, we're not quite sure. We haven't got a uniform approach yet from country to country. And I know America's struggle a bit with funding as far as there's not really any government support as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
it might be state to state, but
yeah, like here, I think that's the biggest struggle with a lot of content creators here in America, especially content creators of color, who would like to put their web series into festivals like the American Black Film Festival, and they have a web series category, but it's like your series can only be 8 to 10 minutes. I'm like, what is this, 2005? Like, who does that? 5 minutes? Can we move forward? Can we try to move forward? Because they're missing out on some incredible content, and they're sort of keeping us in this little small box. And it's because they don't know. I think on one hand, they're probably like afraid of like, okay, all right, well, if we give too much attention to these shorts, that why would people need features? And like, there's room for all of us. And so I just wish that my wish going forward is that they would sort of take that antiquated thought of a web series should only be like 5 to 8 minutes long, and just like open it up to like, if it's a web series, it's a web series, because then they don't let you submit your stuff in a short. So okay, so then you just miss out on the whole opportunity to. And I think what people need to understand is that these festivals, it's a way for us to get exposure. It's a way for people who would not normally see your work to see it. And just like this around, like, I never would have thought that my show would be here, or I would be sitting here, but that's why these festivals are so important. So to see a festival and you're sort of like damned if you do, damned if you don't, by looking at the rules, it's sort of like, it just makes you frustrated.
Yeah. Well, as someone pointed out, Stranger Things is a web series.
It very much is. It very much is.
It's a streamer. That's a web series. You know, I think that's part of the problem too. They're not really able to define what web series is anymore. And it's all lengths and all content, you know. But yeah, it is an odd one. I mean, I don't know. I was gonna say, Zach, with your short film, how long's your film?
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, but did you have premiere issues? Because this is the other thing with short films, this weird premiere thing they put on festivals if you have to premiere with us. Because part of that strategy of getting it out there through festivals can be the same for web series.
Yeah.
Pain in the neck. To be honest, I get it, but at the same time.
There seems to be a move here, at any rate, against feature films. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to get anybody to say, look, good screenplay, really interested. Is there any way you can break this down into 10 half hours? And then someone might be interested. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of feature film interest, shall we say, you know, on a national level here. I
have a feature film I'm breaking down for that exact reason right now over here.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like somewhat of a wolf in sheep's clothing then, maybe, because for me, making a short is very much a means to an end. I want to make a feature. I'm the only reason I made a short is because I can't afford to make a feature. So, you know, I put my own money, and I'm like, okay, this is. I want people to see that I can work behind the camera and I can tell a story. And what I tried to do with my Lockdown Stash was very much fit a narrative idea into 10 minutes, so that people can see, okay, well, you know, he can obviously make a short which tells a story over a longer amount of time, rather than drawing out a single idea or a single emotion, which is what a lot of shorts do, and they're great for that. But for me, I kind of feel like, it's features that allow the opportunity, and of course web series, whatever that means at this point. That's what really allows the opportunity to tell a story, to give the audience a character arc, to give them a reason to get comfortable and pop some popcorn. I did a private screening of my film, and it was I paid £900 for the Castle Cinema in Homerton on a Friday night, because I wanted to show it on a Friday night, but it's just 10 minutes. But most people didn't even get through through their drinks, let alone their popcorn. So I'd love for, and most people were kind of there saying, where's the next one? We want more. So I don't know. Maybe Canada's different to the UK, but I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in the UK. Strangely, after Brexit, because I don't know how I feel about Brexit, but strangely, there's almost a lot of things that have opened up to be able to make features which represent British culture, whatever that means. I'm a minority in Britain, but being a British Asian, we have our own kind of diaspora, and there's obviously stories that need to be told. And can all those stories be told in 10 minutes? I mean, a great example is, of course, Riz Ahmed, who grew up only 20 from me, who got the Oscar for The Long Goodbye, which is a fantastic film. I would recommend it to anyone if you haven't watched it. So maybe that goes against some of what I'm saying, but I do feel like features and web series, i.e. the likes of Stranger Things, or something that has maybe an hour per episode, gives the opportunity to really tell a drawn out story.
I honestly think there is room for that, and it's also just persistence that gets you there, ultimately. But look, and there's also a thing, it's been interesting, there's a trend here, or there has been, not that we've had a lot go through that have been completed yet, but the idea gets floated a lot about make a web series that's 10 minutes that could also be a feature film, because you then string it all together and it actually could be a full narrative. So there are ways around this, and some people have done quite well. I mean, I've got friends that did a series 2 years ago that were short episodes, strung it together into a feature film, got picked up by Amazon Prime, and got theatrical release. So there's ways of making the two work together if you have to. Proof of concept is a big thing.
Yes,
that we keep hearing. Do a proof of concept. What's it going to look like on screen? It's like, give me the money and I'll show you.
Boils down to the money. It boils down to the money.
Right?
Yeah.
Just give us 10 minutes on your dime, and then we'll let you know if we're going to give you the money to make the full thing. Okay. 10 minutes still costs some money, right? But, you do what you do.
Yeah, I think you can't ever satisfy them. They don't know what they want. I think it comes down to us doing what we want. Just if you make the film that you want to make, that you have to make, the story you have to tell, whether it's going to be 10 episodes or 10 minutes, that's going to mean you're doing what you want, which means the film will be what it's supposed to be, I think. There's so many things changing now, and we can't predict where the big market's going to be or how, but we're heading towards our end. Let me just go around and have all of you talk about what you'd like to be doing in the future. You have projects lined up, happening, or dreams of a project. What direction are you headed?
Okay.
We're also polite.
Well, listen, I'm on break, because those last 7 episodes of Anacostia took a lot out of me emotionally. So I told them, don't talk to me about that show until sometime in June or July. Like, I don't want to see some of you. And I just saw them in LA. I just spent some time in LA with the cast, like a couple of like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, that's it. I don't want to see y'all again until like later on this year. But I'm actually, oddly enough, I'm currently finishing writing a 6-episode, 15-minute each short that my DP Spencer Brudick, who, much like you said, Sally, if he ever leaves me, he's taking me with him. I told him if he ever leaves,
Yes.
I'm coming with you. So he's been pushing me to finish that, and so I'm working on that. And I've been tinkering with this idea of a reality show called City Boys that that fortunately got some interest with some LA producers, and they're currently shopping that. So my fingers are crossed on that because I've been working on it for like since Jesus was a boy. Feels like, and so hopefully we're almost at the finish line with that. So, and on top of that, I have to say on a personal note, I have a 16-year-old who's going to be a senior in high school in September. So I'm dealing with separation and anxiety coming up when he goes to college. So that's my future looking like.
Great, I can go. As I alluded to earlier, I am in the market for a feature film. I am working on another short, just because I feel like while there's that kind of scope of looking for funding for a feature film, which is most of the time in terms of when if you're making a feature film, I guess most of that time around the feature film is mostly spent trying to raise money, and then you spend a little bit of time actually making a film. So I'm kind of preparing for that. And if there's any kind of budding filmmakers watching who are kind of like, thinking, it might be more straightforward, it is really just you're spending most of your time asking for money, and I'm just getting used to that. But at the same time, I feel like it's important to put your own money in, even if it's a small amount, even if it pales in comparison to a venture capitalist investor or something like that. Just as a gesture, just say, I believe in myself and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I think that's important. So I'm looking forward to kind of working on my next short, and the feature hopefully will include Dave Courtney, who, if you don't know about, he as I mentioned before, he is a gangster turned author. Vinnie Jones's character in Snatch was based on Dave Courtney. Wow. I'm kind of here, he's got a little party going on, and it was hard to kind of, I'm trying to have my cake and eat it by speaking to you lot as well while I'm here. But it's important for me to absorb the world that he's in, because he's a real gangster. So you might very well see a gangster film of a more serious tone coming from me in the near future.
Hi, folks. I'll let you continue, Sally. Keep going.
No, I was going to say, I actually was lucky enough to be given our state government here in Victoria were very good with the pandemic for the arts. Thankfully, somebody was in the government setup, and they did quick response grants for artists that were wanting to create during the pandemic. So I got a small grant, but enough to take a month to actually focus on writing. So I've been adapting Shakespeare for 5 years now, and well, that's lovely. And it's great. I am using his words, not necessarily mine. So I am also a writer. So I am actually planning to go away and write a new series, which will be a crime drama, which is something that I enjoy myself. So this is a project that I'm writing that I want to see. And so that's the sort of next major thing. And I do have another Shakespeare project that has been on hold since prior to the pandemic because we couldn't get on set together, which is another adaptation of Shakespeare, but done in a different way, called Dark Arcadia, which will be happening at the end of the year. But that's kind of like a proof of concept short thing again. And in the middle of all that, yeah, I hear you, Anthony, on the break thing. It's been a crazy 2 years or more. Yeah, I think I've finally got a nice couple of recliner chairs now in my back garden that I got for my birthday, and I haven't yet been able to actually enjoy them. We're going into winter, but I don't care. I'm going to sit out there and enjoy my garden for a couple of weeks as well. I think that's also on the agenda. You must learn. That's the other thing. Learn to take the breaks when you can, because it's a crazy, crazy business to be involved in.
How about you, Mary? Are you on mute?
Yes.
Mary is muted. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, we're doing a second season of the Mrs. Downstairs, and so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'm working with a young crowd of comedians who have a comedy troupe, and and I'm directing them, and we're going into production at the end of this week. And I'm trying to do stand-up because I've always been a sketch comedy person. And so I'm doing the Halifax Comedy Festival, a tight 7 minutes, which, I'm really just having a complete meltdown. I'm eating my own liver about that. And I've got an animated thing. We've got 10, planned for 10, called That Show Sucks. It's Mom and Eddie Reardon. It's two terrible people who watch TV and say terrible things about TV shows, but a portal opens and they end up in TV shows. So that hopefully, we're trying to sell that. So there's, lots of stuff on the go for sure. And I'm really happy about that. But I do when I go up in my bedroom sometimes just to pick something up, I'll often look at my bed in a kind of longing manner and think, how many hours till I get to lie down? But anyway, it's good. Everything's good.
No, I do have a quick self-indulgent question for our esteemed moderator. Chris, take us on a journey onto Oscar night. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was unbelievable. We had 2 limousines full of my parents and our entourage, and we managed to scrounge together like a dozen tickets for guests, because they're not easy to get, especially if you're only a short filmmaker. But I had a happy ending to that night. We didn't go to the Vanity Fair party. We went to our nonprofit organizations party, who are our fiscal sponsor, Visual Communications, and we stayed up all night. It was a dream. Thanks for asking.
No problem.
Folks, I am unfortunately the party pooper here, but Anthony, I think that's probably the best question to leave it on. It's always nice to know how everyone's careers are going, and to know what it's like to be at such an event as the Oscars. I love moderating these when I get the chance to, but I think my favorite thing is when I get to sit behind the scenes and just listen to people chat about the business and about their careers. And I think the one overarching tip to take away from is find a DP and don't let go of them. I know this from personal experience as well, and I'm like, if they ever leave me, that's like you said, Anthony, I'm going with them.
I'm going with
anyone out there, find a good DOP who makes life easier and never let them leave your side. I think all of you, thank you so much, Chris, Anthony, Zaki, Mary, Sally.
It is actually against the law to chain them up in the basement. No,
it really
you can't do that. Apparently, that's not good.
It's a legal kind of grey area. It's
it's a grey area.
We can find a workaround on that one, I'm sure.
London
we'll put our brains together.
in no way endorses chaining up DOPs. Just so legal has us covered. We are just run out of time, but thank you so much all for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I always like to finish the Q&As by replaying your work that we showed at the beginning. Now that everyone's had a chance to listen to you, to get to know you better, I think it's only fitting that they get to see just a short segment of your work. If you want to stay behind in the green room afterwards, I'll be with you momentarily and we can have a quick chat. Thank you all for being part of the festival, and thank you all for joining us today. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Find me on social media, everyone.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Greetings to my community. Once upon a time, I was told the story of a small samurai who traveled to a far-off island to defeat demons and ogres. I came to America with that same dream. Little Tokyo became my new home.
Yeah.
Are you light on your feet?
What?
Are you light on your wait, because the last crowd, they were like a herd of Jesus moose up there.
I mean, I guess I'm light on my feet.
You're a big young fella, but sometimes the bigger they are, you know, the lighter they minces around on their feet.
What?
I knew. I just was waiting for him to find out, you know. And so, in the meantime, I just made sure that wherever he was, I was, you know. So, well, now that I say it like that, it does make it sound like I followed him around.
So he was right.
Whatever.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word.
You going to be cool? Folks, thank you so much for joining us on our first roundtable of the year. It is fantastic to be back in 2022. We're busy behind the scenes getting ready for our Q1 winner announcements in just a few days. But do not worry, if you've got a series, a film, animation, documentary, and you're just dying to show us it, our Q2 season is now open. Just head on over to londonwebfest.co.uk to find out all the details. Thank you once again for being here. Until next time, happy filmmaking.